In the lively village of Babom-me, excitement bubbled up like a spring. Today was the festival of the rising sun, a day bursting with colors, laughter, and the sweet smells of harvest. The village square was a canvas painted with vibrant scenes. Young men showing off their strength in wrestling matches, and young women like Oyin dazzling the crowd with their skills and beauty. Oyin's pottery stall was a splash of color at the festival's heart. Her hands, known for their magic with clay, had shaped pots and vases that told stories of Babom-me's rich lands. Her fabrics glowed as brightly as the sunset, drawing a crowd that couldn't help but stop and stare. But Oyin wanted more than just praise. She wanted to break a barrier. She aimed to be called a master potter, a title only men had held in Babom-me. Her latest creation, a large pot painted with the fierce and wise faces of women from legends, was her rebellion. These were women who had changed the world just as she hoped to. As drums beat a lively rhythm, the crowd around her stall grew, drawn by the beauty of her work and the powerful stories it portrayed. The faces on her pot seemed to live and breathe under the sun's touch, inspiring gasps and murmurs of admiration. However, not everyone was impressed. A group of elder craftsmen, the keepers of old ways, watched with frowns. Whispering among themselves, they seemed troubled by Oyin's bold dreams. As the noise of praise grew, one elder couldn't hold back. He stepped forward, his voice slicing through the chatter. "Impressive work, Oyin, but no woman can be a master potter," he said firmly, challenging her right there in front of everyone. The festival's joyful buzz turned to tense silence. All eyes were on Oyin, who stood firm and fearless. Her reply would not just be for her, but for all the women of Babom-me. "Why not?" Oyin asked, her voice strong and clear. "If my pots speak of skill, why should my being a woman speak louder?" Her words hung in the air, bold and defiant. The festival paused, a silent standoff under the sun, as Babom-me stood on the brink of change. Today, the festival of the rising sun wasn't just a celebration, it was a stage for a revolution, with Oyin ready to reshape not just clay, but her destiny and the traditions of her village. Among the crowd was Folktore, the chief's son, who had been wandering through the market stalls. His eyes caught the glimmer of sunlight on Oyin's uniquely painted pot. Drawn in by the vibrant colors and intricate designs that told stories of valor and wisdom, he approached, his face lighting up with admiration. "Your hands craft tales as old as time," Folktore remarked, his voice filled with awe as he admired the pottery. Oyin, her cheeks warming with a shy smile, thanked him. Her heart fluttered, not just from his praise, but from the stirring of something new. However, not everyone shared Folktore's appreciation. Nearby, the group of elder craftsmen watched with disapproving eyes. They muttered among themselves, uneasy about Oyin's bold ambitions. "Such ambition in a young woman is unsettling," one whispered. "It's not our way," another added gruffly. As the chief praised the festival's spirit and unity, the elders saw their chance. They presented Oyin with a daunting challenge, their faces stern, hiding their true intent. "Oyin, craft a vessel worthy of the gods by the next full moon," the lead elder announced to the crowd. "Succeed and be named a master potter. Fail and you must never touch clay again." A collective gasp swept through the crowd, the tension palpable in the warm air. Oyin, feeling the weight of every gaze upon her, steadied her voice and responded, "I accept." Her declaration rang out, bold and clear. Folari what? Admiration blooming into something deeper. The whispers of Oyin's bold acceptance spread through Babom-me as the festival lights flickered into the evening. That night, under a blanket of stars, Oyin couldn't sleep. She lay thinking about the monumental task ahead. The vessel she envisioned wasn't just any pot. It needed to be divine, a masterpiece that could sway the gods themselves. In the weeks that followed, Oyin's workshop became a crucible of creation. She pored over ancient texts for inspiration and honed her craft with meticulous care. Folari became a regular visitor, each time bringing new clays or vibrant minerals to help her quest. Their meetings, once filled with casual chats, now sparked with shared purpose and quiet moments of connection. As the full moon drew near, the pressure mounted. The village elders kept a watchful eye, torn between hope for tradition and the whispers of change. Oyin worked day and night, her final creation taking shape under her determined hands. On the eve of the full moon, with the kiln casting a soft orange glow, Oyin placed her finished vessel inside. Her hands trembled as she whispered a prayer into the cool night air, her hopes and fears mingling with the smoke that rose towards the stars. Babom-me held its breath. The outcome of this moonlight challenge would not only determine Oyin's fate, but could forever change the history of the village. As dawn approached, with the vessel cooling in the kiln, the village awaited a revelation that would echo through the ages. Under a blanket of twinkling stars, the small village of Babom-me slept quietly, all except for one hut, where a small lamp burned late into the night. Oyin, with her sleeves rolled up and her brows furrowed in concentration, was lost in her world of clay and colors. Around her, pots of all shapes stood like silent spectators, witnesses to the creation of something that might change her life forever. That night, as Oyin's hands moved with practiced grace over a particularly stubborn piece of clay, a gentle breeze wafted through the open window. It wasn't just any breeze. It seemed to hum with the soft, almost forgotten voices of women long past. These were the heroines of legends, warriors and queens who had bent the world to their will. "Do not falter," they seemed to say, "for your fire lights the way for those after you." With each whisper, Oyin's fingers found new strength, her heart swelling with the courage of 1,000 women. Just then, the silhouette of Folari appeared at the doorway, hesitating for a moment before knocking softly. Oyin welcomed him, her surprise quickly turning into a warm smile. Folari's eyes were full of admiration as he took in the scene, pots lined with histories and a woman reshaping the future. "I couldn't sleep, knowing you were here, battling giants alone," Folari confessed, his voice carrying a mix of concern and awe. He stepped closer, picking up a shard with a painted heroine wielding a spear. "These women, they were fearless, weren't they?" "Just like you," Oyin replied, a blush coloring her cheeks under the lamp's glow. "They remind me that we are made of more than what tradition dictates." Moved by her words and by the night's magic, Folari reached into his pocket and pulled out a small wrapped bundle. "I brought you something," he said, handing her a packet of rare pigments he had obtained from a traveling merchant. "Something to help bring your heroines to life." Together, they mixed the pigments, the colors coming alive under Oyin's skilled hands. As they walked side by side, their laughter filled the small hut, mingling with whispers of the wind. It was a moment of connection, of shared dreams and unspoken promises under the watchful gaze of the moon. As the night deepened, Oyin and Folari found themselves outside, sitting beside her pottery wheel, looking up at the stars. One day, they'll talk about you, the woman who sculpted her fate, Folari said, his voice tinged with admiration and something deeper, perhaps the beginnings of love. Oyin looked at him, her heart skipping a bit. And they will speak of the man who dared to stand by her, she replied, her hand finding his in the moonlight. That night, as the whispers of the past faded with the rising dawn, Oyin and Folari fought the bond that was part artistic, part historic, and all heart. It was a bond that would see them through the coming challenge, armed with clay, colors, and the courage of convictions new and old. The next full moon was fast approaching, and with it, a day that might just rewrite the history of Babom-me. As the night wrapped Babom-me in a blanket of stars, the village thrummed with anticipation. Everyone gathered around the baobab tree in the village square, its gnarled branches casting long shadows in the moonlight. This wasn't just another evening. It was the moment that would define Oyin's fate and possibly the future of Babom-me. The center of everyone's attention was a large draped object positioned at the base of the tree. The clothes covering it fluttered slightly in the evening breeze, teasing the curious eyes that surrounded it. Oyin stood beside her creation, her heart pounding in her chest, her palms moist with nervous sweat. Beside her, Folari offered a reassuring smile, squeezing her hand gently to remind her she wasn't alone. The chief, a figure of respect, with a crown adorned with eagle feathers, stepped forward solemnly. With a nod that seemed to draw silence from the crowd, he signaled to Oyin. With a flourish that felt like the unveiling of a new era, she pulled the cloth away. The crowd caught their breath. Before them stood not just a pot, but a proclamation, a towering vessel telling the bold tales of women warriors, healers, and leaders whose eyes sparkled with life under the moon's glow. The air filled with the scent of night-blooming flowers, thick with the weight of this unveiling. The elders in their traditional garb stepped forward, their faces a mix of admiration and resistance. They touched the vessel lightly, tracing the bold lines and vibrant colors that brought legendary women to life. Whispers swirled among the villagers. "See how Chinwe the healer is surrounded by herbs," marveled the woman, pointing at the detailed painting. A young girl tugged at her mother's sleeve, her eyes wide with awe. "Look at Queen Amina, her sword raised high." The chief, seeing the effect of the pot on the villagers, felt a stirring of pride and a twinge of fear. The tradition had always been clear. Pottery was a man's craft. But here was undeniable proof that talent and vision knew no gender. He turned to face the elders, who were now in a heated debate among themselves. Some argued passionately for upholding tradition, while others, taught by the artistry and the public's reaction, pushed for change. Folari, watching the elders' indecision, stepped forward. "This pot does more than hold water. It holds the dreams and stories of our daughters," he declared, his voice carrying across the crowd. "Can we really turn our backs on such talent? On such a future?" The question hung in the air, as heavy as the moon above. Oyin looked out over the crowd, her future and that of every young girl watching, hanging in the balance. Would Babom-me step forward into a new era or pull back into the shadows of tradition? As the chief pondered, the moonlight seemed to cast a spotlight on Oyin's vessel, illuminating the figures of the women on the pot, as as if they were alive, urging him to make a decision that would echo through the generations. Would Babom-me step into a new dawn or retreat into the shadows of old ways? The answer lay in the hands of the chief and in the heart of the village as they stood witness to a revolution sparked by one woman's courage and her clay. This night, under the gaze of the ancient baobab and the watchful stars, was destined to be remembered. A night when Babom-me might just rewrite its own story. As the golden moon walked silently, the air around the baobab tree in Babom-me was charged with whispers, debates, and the heavy breaths of anticipation. The village chief, his face a mask of solemn duty, etched with the lines of age-old wisdom, finally raised his hand to silence the crowd. His eyes, reflecting the firelight, swept over the sea of expectant faces before resting on Oyin. With a deep resonant voice that seemed to draw on the very roots of the baobab under which they gathered, the chief announced, "Today, tradition and progress have woven a new fabric in the history of Babom-me. Oyin, with her exceptional skill and vision, is hereby declared a master potter." The words fell over the village like rain in the dry season, refreshing, life-giving, transformative. The village erupted in an opera of cheers and applause, a symphony of joy that danced with the rustling leaves of the baobab. Women ululated, men clapped thunderously, and children jumped with glee. Oyin, overwhelmed with a wave of support, felt tears of joy sting her eyes. Beside her, Folktore, who had championed her cause from the shadows of doubt to the light of acceptance, beamed with pride. Their hands found each other, their fingers intertwining like the roots of the ancient tree that witnessed their triumph. As the celebration continued under the moonlit sky, Oyin's victory became a signal of hope and inspiration, not just for her, but for every young girl in Babom-me. Her success tore down the invisible barriers that had confined the dreams of many before her. That night, as the festival of the rising sun drew to a close, the villagers didn't just celebrate the end of the harvest, they celebrated the birth of a new legend, the girl who molded her destiny with clay and courage. Oyin, standing beside Folktore, addressed the crowd, her voice clear and vibrant. "Let this victory be not mine alone, but a symbol of hope for every girl who dreams. May it light your paths and inspire you to reach for the stars. Remember, no tradition is too big to question, no boundary too rigid to push. Our dreams, like clay, are ours to shape." As the crowd dispersed, leaving behind echoes of a day that would be etched in the annals of Babom-me forever, the stars twinkled a little brighter, the night sang a little softer, and the wind carried whispers of change across the savannah. And so, dear listeners, remember Oyin's story. Like the clay in her skilled hands, you too can shape your destiny. Dream big, challenge norms, and create paths where none exist. Stand tall and never let tradition silence your voice or dim your dreams. Share this story with friends and family. Talk about it in your workplaces, your schools, your neighborhoods. Let's inspire each other to break barriers and build a world where everyone, regardless of gender, can dream without limits. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell for more stories like this. Together, let's keep the winds of change blowing strong. Thank you.